A day comes when you receive a dagger from the shoulder you trust the most. The person you are closest to, the person you believe in the most, the person you share your secrets, your prayers, your dreams with, suddenly turns to the dark side. Maybe they lied to you by looking you in the eye and turned their back on you when you turned your back. The person you thought of as a friend has sacrificed you for their own benefit. But remember, true strength lies in being able to stand up even after the worst betrayal. Those who sold you out are now alone, with their own conscience, trying to find their way in the darkness. And you, the chosen of the Lord, are emerging from the fire even stronger. The wound of betrayal is deep, yes, but it is also the key that will take you to a new level. Now, do not let them hide in your shadows. Shine your own light. Write 777 in the comments now, because the true chosen ones know how to turn betrayal into a holy ascension. Imagine the break of dawn after a long, stormy night. How the first rays of sunlight burn through fog, making every hidden corner crystal clear. Just like that, a heavenly torch is shining down on every shadowy deal and every plot that once tried to rob you of your inheritance. The one who built their empire on confusion and misdirection is stumbling now, exposed in the full glare of truth. Their web of secret arrangements and forged papers, the years of contracts signed behind closed doors, is collapsing like a row of dominoes before the eyes of witnesses who can't look away. Beloved, you are like the cornerstone in a building that refuses to be moved. No matter how many times they tried to bury your legacy under layers of deception, God's justice is like a flood, unstoppable, pure, and washing away everything built on lies. Those tampered inheritances and rewritten fates that were used as weapons to keep you from your true calling are now nothing but relics floating in the tide. The courtroom of heaven has swung wide its doors, and every act of injustice is being weighed on scales that cannot be tipped by bribery or slick words. When God's light comes in, it doesn't just reveal what was hidden, it restores what was taken. Watch as everything that was manipulated to your disadvantage is now coming back multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. There's no force on earth that can stop the momentum of restoration when heaven issues the decree. Every plot that was meant to sabotage your future is being used instead as a stepping stone to your destiny. The lies, the signatures, the crooked alliances, they are being brought into the open so that no doubt remains about who rightfully carries the blessing. Just as a mighty river carves new pathways when the dam breaks, your life is being rerouted for increase and freedom. The time of hiding is over. What was once used against you is now a testimony that will set many captives free. The old structures that relied on secrecy and intimidation are dissolving in the sunlight, and those who once profited from your pain are left with nothing but empty hands and trembling hearts. Beloved, this is not just a chapter closing. It's a whole new book opening up before you. The kingdom legacy, the inheritance, the vision that was meant for you is being restored, and the angels themselves are bearing witness. Stand firm. Let the flood of justice do its work, for what is grounded in God's truth will never be swept away, no matter how high the waters rise. Picture a garden, beloved, where every seed of destiny planted in the soil of your life was supposed to wither. The ground was salted behind your back, the water poisoned, and every weed of discouragement grew up around you, twisting and choking the promise that was your birthright. These stumbling blocks weren't random. They were laid like jagged stones, placed by careful hands who thought you'd never notice the pattern. The architect of your adversity was no accidental storm. It was a whole parade, a drama staged with one purpose: to make you believe that struggle was your only inheritance. But let me tell you, in the eyes of heaven, you were never meant to just survive. You were destined to overcome. Those who tried to map out your downfall forgot one crucial truth. God specializes in using what was meant for your harm to launch you into greater purpose. The stones they set to make you trip became the very markers that traced the path of your miraculous comeback. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. Think about it, family. Every time hope came knocking, there was a voice, a circumstance, a well-timed obstacle sent to intercept your blessing. Maybe it looked like a neighbor who just happened to stop by when opportunity called your name, pulling you out of alignment with your breakthrough. Or perhaps it was a companion, a so-called friend, who gently nudged you into a detour every time you tried to walk the straight path. There were confidants, people you trusted with your deepest desires, who for a price or out of jealousy whispered your possibilities away behind closed doors, poisoning the wells of your future. But hallelujah, the tides have turned. Just as sunlight eventually breaks through the thickest cloud cover, so too has every shadowy scheme now come into the light. All those invisible threads, the late-night phone calls, the whispered conversations, the mysterious delays, have been traced, exposed, and untangled by the persistent hand of divine justice. The puppet master, who thought they could pull the strings of your destiny in secret, has been unmasked. Every underhanded payment, every hidden motive, every clandestine alliance stands revealed in the daylight of truth. Now, instead of walking a path lined with sabotage, you're stepping onto streets paved with vindication. The same people who once engineered your obstacles have become the unwilling witnesses to your rise. Those who used to cash in on your setbacks now find their investments have turned to dust, their strategies exposed as nothing more than footnotes in the testimony of your triumph. The hand that once pushed you off course is paralyzed by awe, because God Himself rerouted the river of favor right back to your feet. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. And let's get real. In the divine economy, nothing is ever wasted. Every disappointment, every closed door, every moment you spent questioning your worth was collected by the Creator like rain in a reservoir. When the appointed time came, He poured out those stored-up sorrows as blessing, watering the seeds of promise that others tried to kill. The path they designed as a trap has become the road to your testimony. You know what's even greater? All those betrayals didn't just fail to stop you. They ended up being the fertilizer that made your roots stronger. Every time they tried to bury you, they were planting you. Every act of sabotage was soil for your next season. The confessions are coming and the receipts are in. Hidden payments, secret alliances, all the strings behind the curtain. None of it was missed by the eyes of justice. Those who bought and sold influence in secret, who turned friends into informants and hope into hesitation, are watching in silence as God reverses every scheme. And while you might have stumbled, you never fell for good. Each trip up was a setup for a step up. The very path that was supposed to bring you shame has become your parade route of glory. Now, the stones that made you stumble are the trophies you hold up as proof. Look what the Lord has done. They thought I'd break, but I was only being made. Beloved, don't let the memory of manipulation haunt you another day. Those strings are cut. The hands that used to pull you down have lost their grip, and the ones who paid for your silence are now left with nothing but receipts that accuse them. This is your season to walk tall. You are the living, breathing, walking sign that God's justice is not a maybe, it's a guarantee. Let's go deeper. You're not here to nurse wounds, you're here to write history. What was meant to end your story has become the ink for a brand new chapter, one where you are the head, not the tail, the leader, not the follower, the lender, not the borrower. You are the evidence that adversity cannot cancel anointing. In every room you enter now, favor announces you before you say a word, and the ones who used to plot against you now look for your blessing. If you feel like you're the only one who's ever had a path sabotaged, look up. God's got an audience full of witnesses who've seen every tear and counted every loss. And now He's preparing a table for you in the presence of those very enemies, turning your obstacles into opportunities and your scars into stories of resurrection. So, child of destiny, don't just walk, stride. Don't just stand, shine. The parade of disappointment is over, and you're leading the celebration march. Justice has traced every thread, and the tapestry is now one of victory, not victimhood. The story's not over. It's just getting started. And heaven is broadcasting your comeback on every channel. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Step forward. The puppet master's strings have snapped, and the stage is yours. The author of your destiny has taken the pen, and this new act will be written in gold. No more detours, no more delay. The path is clear, and you're walking straight into the fulfillment of every promise spoken over your life. Picture a weathered locksmith arriving at a grand estate just before dawn, keys jangling at his belt, moving from door to door as the night's chill gives way to a fresh morning breeze. He's not fumbling in the dark. He's working by a blueprint that heaven drew up before anyone tried to change the locks on your destiny. Every lock that kept you out, every bolt that barred you from what's yours, is now clicking open in response to the divine code written in your spirit. Walls that once towered as monuments to your rejection are coming down like Jerichos, stone by stone, insult by insult, memory by memory. These are not just four walls and a roof. These are chapters of your story being rewritten as living testimony. Let this settle deep. What was kept from you? What bore your name in invisible ink? What was stashed behind layers of red tape and deception is now coming into the light and being placed in your hands. Every deed, every promise, every title, what the enemy tried to erase or forge, God is restoring with interest. You're not pacing outside the house anymore. You're stepping through gates that recognize your authority. Even the floorboards remember your true name. The pipes hum with the melody of your return. The foundation that once excluded you is being repoured, and your feet are the first to stand upon it as rightful owner, not as a guest. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. The doors that were slammed, the chains that rattled, the no-entry signs that mocked you. See how they reverse themselves in your presence. You don't have to knock twice. The hinges swing wide at the scent of your calling. It's not because you forced your way in, but because the architect of the universe signed off on your inheritance long before you were denied. All the meetings where your name was crossed out, all the contracts where your signature was forged, are being laid bare in the open court of justice. Now every wall that covered up secrets becomes a witness for your defense. Every lock that blocked you now testifies to your perseverance. This is bigger than just receiving property or regaining lost ground. It's about reclaiming the authority to build on land that was meant for your flourishing, not your exile. You are staking new markers in the soil, planting banners of peace and abundance where division once reigned. You're not moving into a house haunted by betrayal. You're inaugurating a new era, making the ruins into a refuge, transforming rejection into restoration. Your presence sanctifies every threshold. The echo of old denials fades. The anthem of acceptance rises. And just like that locksmith in the parable, you find that the final key was always in your pocket, fashioned in the fires of patience and perseverance. It only needed the right moment, the fullness of time, for the tumblers to turn and the gates to open. Let every opening door be a sermon. If God ordains the entrance, no person, policy, or principality can keep you out. What was hidden in vaults of confusion is now the headline of your redemption. The keys are not just to property, but to legacy, identity, and purpose. A generational restoration that will be spoken of long after today's accusers are forgotten. So walk in bold. Let your shadow cross thresholds once barred. Let your footsteps echo freedom down every corridor of your inheritance. And when the sun shines through those windows once shuttered against your blessing, let it remind you that every lock was only waiting for your touch. Every closed door was only gathering glory for this homecoming. Welcome back, beloved. Every key, every promise, every destiny placed firmly in your hand, right on time. Just as a farmer unearths gold coins from ground he thought was only dust, a surge of revelation now sweeps across every corner of your financial journey. Each hidden transaction, once cloaked in shadows, is being lifted to the light like buried seeds breaking through hard earth. Divine investigators, patient as gardeners and sharp as hawks, comb through the layers of your story with a holy persistence that refuses to leave any stone unturned. Where once losses masqueraded as routine withdrawals and vanished as silent footnotes, every deception is now being named for what it truly was: a theft against your destiny. Old loans reappear, labeled with names you never consented to. Investments made in your name without your blessing come home like prodigal sons, eager to be reconciled. Mysterious expenses, camouflaged in the ledgers, now stand exposed in the full daylight of divine justice. Every account, every document, every silent number begins to speak, telling the true tale of what was taken, when, and by whom. What used to seem irretrievable, those fortunes siphoned off by hands you never saw, are now reclaimed, piece by piece, under the watchful eyes of a greater judge. Imagine a riverbed after the flood has receded, debris cleared away, old treasures visible in the sparkling sun. That's what's happening in your financial story, beloved. With each new discovery, every balance begins to tip back in your favor. Not only is your loss being accounted for, but your abundance is being multiplied, restored, with interest only heaven could calculate. The hands that tried to pilfer your harvest are now empty, and the tables have turned so thoroughly that what once drained you now pours back in with supernatural overflow. This isn't just about money. It's about every ounce of value, energy, and dignity that was siphoned from your life by deception and manipulation. God is not just balancing the books. He is rewriting the entire story. Where there was once deficit, there will now be a testimony of overflow. Where shame and confusion once lived, clarity and honor now stand. Even the years that the locusts ate, even the opportunities that were diverted, are finding their way back into your hands. And as every false signature, every shadow deal, every under-the-table arrangement is exposed, watch how new doors open. Opportunities you thought were gone forever are boomeranging back into your life with double the momentum. Divine restitution is in motion, gathering up the fragments and rebuilding your legacy, stronger, brighter, and more blessed than before. The world may have tried to bury your inheritance, but heaven has the final say, and this is your season to reclaim every blessing that was hidden in plain sight. So stand tall, chosen one. Let your faith be the shovel that keeps digging, your praise the sunlight that nurtures every returned blessing. The garden of your future is already beginning to blossom with abundance that cannot be stolen again. You are not just getting back what was lost. You are stepping into a season of prosperity so remarkable, only God Himself could have orchestrated it. Hallelujah! The restitution has begun, and your cup is about to run over. The same community that once clapped politely at your setbacks now scrambles for distance as the truth turns like a weather vane. Those who dined at your table with false praise now taste only the bitterness of exposure. The ones who wore masks of friendship begin to vanish from the stage, hoping to escape the spotlight of accountability. Social feeds, once filled with virtue signals, are suddenly silent. The likes have dried up, and attendance at celebrations is replaced with anxious avoidance. Every legal document used to bind you is now a piece of evidence for your emancipation. Signatures, once forged with impunity, now serve as fingerprints, leading investigators to the heart of the operation. Fake stamps and ghostly witnesses created to keep you powerless are all catalogued as proof against those who orchestrated your captivity. The paper chains that held you are now the very links pulling your captors into the light of truth. Every rumor, every carefully planted word designed to bruise your reputation, now bounces back with the force of revelation. The entire machinery of defamation is laid out like a blueprint, showing how seeds of doubt were planted, watered, and harvested for profit. But now those who once whispered with certainty scroll through evidence, realizing they became the instruments of another's agenda. Their eyes, wide with disbelief, reflect the recognition of how they were played. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as his mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Now the once cohesive team of schemers finds themselves scattered like seeds in the wind. The legal expert, who always found the loophole, now struggles to explain their motives. The financial advisor, who padded your portfolio for their own benefit, must now answer for every penny misplaced. Those who watched over your health and well-being must justify the stories they spun to keep you subdued. The unity that bound them has become a web of finger-pointing, as each tries to save their own skin. Generations of silent agreement, cycles of manipulation passed down like family heirlooms, are being shattered by your defiance. The rituals of secrecy, the way things have always been, lose their hold the moment you choose to stand in the open. By breaking this ancient chain, you become the ancestor of a new legacy, one where truth is the only inheritance, and every descendant will count this moment as the beginning of freedom. Every time they invoked your signature to exercise control over your life, it was as if another layer of stone was added to your cell. Yet now, every stone is being numbered, catalogued, and removed. They timed each crisis, each denial, each concern for your welfare, to ensure you could not build a life on your own terms. That narrative, meticulously maintained, is now revealed as the cage it was always meant to be. Surveillance was their weapon, isolation their shield. With eyes everywhere, at home, at work, in the company of friends, they tried to ensure that you would never find a safe place to land. Anyone who might have lent you a hand was kept away by a whisper campaign, and potential partners were labeled as threats. Every movement you made was watched, reported, and recorded. But now, every wire and every shadow has been mapped for the world to see. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Your own upbringing, twisted by half-truths and enforced silence, became the playbook for your containment. You were told to obey, to be grateful, to never question. Illnesses were exaggerated to make you feel fragile. Every emotional response was spun as a weakness. Even faith and family became tools of control. Now those old phrases lose their power as you recognize them for what they were: tools for keeping you small. Even your passwords and private files were not safe. Digital footprints, once erased, have been uncovered. Investigators now marvel at the complexity and thoroughness of the digital surveillance, while prosecutors assemble timelines and lists of violations that will stand in the halls of justice. Those who were supposed to protect you, the banks, the officials, the doctors, and the teachers, now face their own reckoning. No one is above accountability. Each missed signature, every rubber-stamped document, every unasked question is being examined in the light of a system-wide audit. No stone is being left unturned in this grand restoration. The government's own ledgers are being scoured for fraud. Tax returns you never filed, deductions you never claimed, and dependencies you never agreed to are all coming to light. The charges against your captors rise like a mountain, built stone by stone, on the facts now exposed. The aches and pains, the unease you carried, were never just nerves. They were your spirit's alarm system. The headaches, the nausea, the tension, all signaled the presence of something unnatural. Now, at last, every shiver of intuition is validated by a flood of evidence, confirming that you were not only right, but righteous. The architect of your affliction paces alone, haunted by the weight of their own deeds. Reputation crumbles before verdict. Friends disappear before judgment, and the scaffolding of lies built over a lifetime collapses in a single season. Justice, in all its glory, moves at the speed of truth, never rushed, always timely, and utterly undeniable. What begins with your vindication spills over into a movement far larger than any single life. Auditors sweep through institutions, new codes of ethics are drafted, old ways of hiding are swept away. Your personal victory becomes the cornerstone of a larger revolution, a rising tide that lifts every ship. This is the moment to remain anchored. The machinery of justice turns in your favor. Every record, every witness, every secret is now yours to command. The past cannot run, the stolen cannot hide, the crooked cannot stand. What was designed to hold you captive is now the foundation of your redemption. The captor's crown has fallen. Your restoration is already underway.